Hello Dub Nation, it's always a thrill to connect with you, especially as we're about to reveal the latest news that could shape the fate of our beloved Golden State Warriors. But before we dive into this whirlwind of information, let me make a friendly request. Show us some love by clicking the like button to strengthen our bond, and hey, if you are not subscribed yet, join our channel for a thrilling and emotional journey. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay ahead of the game.
It's a business. Warriors guard opens up about his future amid trade rumors. As speculation continues to swirl, one player involved in potential trade talks between the Golden State Warriors and Sacramento Kings is choosing to stay grounded. Devin Carter, a promising young guard, is navigating the uncertainty with a calm maturity that belies his short time in the league. According to reports, the Sacramento Kings expressed strong interest in acquiring forward Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors. In return, they were willing to offer a package including Malik Monk or Dario Saric, as well as Carter, their 13th overall pick in the 2024 draft. The Warriors' limited use of Kuminga during the play-in tournament and postseason spoke volumes. Their long-term commitment to him seems shaky. And from Kuminga's perspective, there's little reason to stay with a franchise that hasn't fully backed him. Though he's a restricted free agent this summer, meaning his options are limited, most insiders expect the Warriors to move him in exchange for valuable assets. Enter the Kings, one of the only teams to make a serious offer. But there's a twist. The Warriors are reluctant to deal with an in-state rival. That leaves Carter in a familiar limbo, one he's more than prepared for. Devin Carter understands the business side of the NBA. Even though he's just wrapped up his rookie season, Carter isn't new to the unpredictability of professional basketball. His father, Anthony Carter, spent 13 years in the league, playing for 6 different teams and being traded when Devin was just 8 years old. When rumors started linking him to a potential deal, Carter leaned on his father's wisdom. "My dad played 13 years in the NBA, Carter told the Sacramento Bee. He got traded a few times. I've talked with him about how he handled those moments. I'll keep our conversations between us, but what I will say is, I show up every day grateful to be here, ready to work. That's my mindset. At the end of the day, it's a business." While his NBA stats so far have been modest, averaging 3.8 points and 1.1 assists per game, Carter showed great promise in college as a tough defender and a reliable shooter. Many believe he has the tools to evolve into a strong two-way guard in the league, making him a valuable asset in any trade. Could the Kings be making a familiar mistake? If the Kings do end up including Carter in a trade, they might be repeating a painful pattern. Last season, Sacramento traded away De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio. In recent years, they've also dealt Tyrese Halliburton, passed on drafting Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Devin Booker, and C.J. McCollum, all of whom blossomed into elite guards elsewhere. Carter, who averaged 19.7 points and 3.6 assists in his final year at Providence, was projected to be a key piece for the Kings, a defensive-minded guard with scoring upside. Unfortunately, a shoulder injury delayed his rookie debut, and with Sacramento's history of impatience, there's concern they might give up on him too soon. NBA history has a strange sense of irony. For young guards, sometimes the best thing that can happen to your career is for the Kings to move on from you. Devin Carter might just be the next name on that list, and potentially, the next breakout star they let slip away. A potential turning point for Carter and both franchises. The rumors surrounding Devin Carter's potential involvement in the trade have stirred debate among fans and analysts alike. On one hand, some see this as a smart strategic move by the Kings, using a young guard with untapped potential to bring in a more established talent like Kuminga. On the other hand, there's growing concern that Sacramento is once again undervaluing a player who could become a franchise cornerstone elsewhere. Carter's work ethic and two-way potential make him more than just a throw-in piece to sweeten a deal. At Providence, he earned a reputation for his relentless defense, high motor, and leadership, qualities that often don't show up in box scores but are deeply respected by coaches and teammates. Even in limited NBA minutes, scouts have noted his defensive IQ, his ability to pressure the ball, and his willingness to embrace tough matchups. "He's got the kind of grit you want in your locker room," one anonymous scout told The Athletic. If Sacramento gives up on him too quickly, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him thrive in a more structured development-focused system like Golden State's. The Warriors' quiet calculations. For Golden State, acquiring a young guard like Carter could be a low-risk, high-upside play. With the aging core of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green nearing the twilight of their dominance, the franchise is looking to bridge into its next chapter. Kuminga, while talented, has had a rocky developmental arc under coach Steve Kerr, and if the Warriors no longer believe he fits their vision, it makes sense to flip him for depth and future assets. Carter's mentality, team first, humble, and ready to learn, aligns well with the Warriors' culture. Golden State has a history of polishing raw gems into rotation-ready contributors. For a player like Carter, surrounded by Hall of Fame veterans and a proven developmental staff, this environment could be the perfect place to unlock his full potential. Fan backlash and media reactions. The news has already sparked heated reactions on social media. Kings fans are divided. Some are excited by the idea of bringing in Kuminga's explosive athleticism and upside, while others are still haunted by the loss of Haliburton, who blossomed into an all-star with Indiana. This feels like déjà vu, one fan wrote on Reddit. We gave up on Haliburton too early, and now we might do the same with Carter? We keep chasing the next big name instead of developing the talent we have. Meanwhile, Warriors fans are cautiously optimistic. Though Kuminga's departure would sting, especially given his flashes of brilliance, the idea of acquiring a player with a strong defensive mindset like Carter adds value to a team that struggled with consistency last season. What's next? As the off-season unfolds, much of this still hangs in the balance. Sacramento hasn't finalized a deal, and it's unclear how urgently the Warriors want to move Kuminga. What's certain is that both teams are under pressure to make the right decisions, not just for their immediate futures, but for the long-term trajectory of their franchises. For Devin Carter, the waiting game continues. Whether he stays in Sacramento or begins a new chapter elsewhere, his quiet resilience and steady approach speak volumes. "I just control what I can," Carter said. "Wherever I'm needed, I'll show up ready to work." Sometimes it's that kind of mindset, not hype or headlines, that turns overlooked prospects into the league's next breakout star. Nick Young recalls brutal wake-up call from Draymond Green during Warriors' timeout. During their dynasty years in the 2010s, the Golden State Warriors were the epitome of a well-oiled machine. 5 straight NBA Finals appearances, 3 championships, and a style of play that changed basketball forever. At the heart of it all, a system rooted in high basketball IQ, selflessness, and accountability, and no one embodied that standard more vocally than Draymond Green. Former NBA guard Nick Young, known for his flashy personality and scoring flair, had a brief but memorable stint with the Warriors during the 2017-18 season, a campaign that ultimately ended with an NBA title. But it didn't take long for him to experience just how demanding and humbling it could be to join a championship-caliber team like Golden State. Speaking recently about his time with the Warriors, Young shared a moment that stuck with him, a blunt message delivered by Draymond Green right in front of the team during a timeout. "It was only my second game," Young recalled. "In the first game, I went off, dropped 20 points. So naturally, in the second game, I tried to do it again. Tried to be the hero. And that's when Draymond hit me with it. Right there during a timeout, in front of everybody. We don't do that here," Young remembered Green saying. "We play winning basketball here." Young admitted the moment caught him off guard. "I was like, damn. But that's the culture. That's what makes that team different. A system built on intelligence, not just talent." NBA veteran Gilbert Arenas recently echoed the same sentiment on his podcast Gil's Arena, where he praised the Warriors for building a system where basketball IQ is just as important, if not more, than raw skill. "The Warriors' offense is designed around Steph Curry's and Draymond Green's IQ," Arenas explained. "If you don't think the game the way they do, you'll look completely out of place. You become basketball trash in that system. It's not enough to be a good scorer. If you miss an open look to give Curry an easier shot, or take a heat check 3 instead of moving the ball, you're not contributing to winning, you're hurting the flow. That's the standard, and it's why even high-level scorers like Kevin Durant adapted their games when joining the team. Durant fit in by embracing the system, not dominating it. As a result, he left in 2019 with 2 NBA titles and 2 Finals MVPs. Draymond Green, the enforcer of culture. Draymond's leadership style has never been subtle, and that's exactly why it works. He sets the tone, holds teammates accountable, and makes sure everyone buys into what Golden State is really about, winning basketball, not personal stats. For Nick Young, that tough love moment with Draymond became a reality check, and ultimately, a lesson in what it takes to be part of a championship team. "I realized real quick, this ain't the place to freelance or go rogue," Young laughed. "You fall in line, you buy in, or you sit down. And that's the secret behind the Warriors' sustained success. It's not just about having stars, it's about creating a culture where everyone, from MVPs to role players, is held to the same standard. More than a moment, a glimpse into the Warriors' championship DNA. Nick Young's story didn't just go viral because of the harshness of Draymond Green's words. It resonated because it offered fans a rare, unfiltered glimpse into the inner workings of one of the most successful teams of the modern era. What might seem like locker room tension to outsiders is, in reality, a reflection of the culture that made Golden State a dynasty. While Draymond's delivery may have been blunt, his message was clear: no player, no matter how talented, is bigger than the system. And that system, built on trust, ball movement, spacing, and relentless accountability, has produced 4 championships and one of the most respected brands of basketball in NBA history. NBA players react, that's why they win. After Young's comments surfaced, reactions flooded in across social media, with several current and former NBA players chiming in. Many backed Green's tough love leadership, noting that this kind of internal honesty is what separates title teams from talented rosters that never quite get over the hump. Veteran guard Patrick Beverley commented on the clip. That's the difference. Most teams let guys do whatever. Warriors hold everyone to a standard. That's why they got rings. Even former Warriors like Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston, both respected for their high basketball IQ and veteran presence, have long praised Draymond for being the emotional engine of the team. Internally, players may not always enjoy being called out, but they understand that it's always about the bigger picture, winning. A lesson for every locker room. Nick Young's experience serves as a blueprint for players entering winning environments. Talent alone isn't enough. In Golden State, buying into the culture is non-negotiable. That culture values smart decision-making, communication, and sacrifice, especially from role players. It's a principle that has been echoed repeatedly by head coach Steve Kerr, who often credits Draymond Green's voice as the heartbeat of the locker room. Kerr once described Draymond's leadership style as intense, emotional, but necessary, especially in high-pressure moments. Every great team needs someone who sets the emotional tone, Kerr said in a past interview. Draymond has always been that guy for us. Swaggy P found his role, and a ring. Despite the early friction, Nick Young adjusted. He learned to pick his spots, embraced his role as a sharpshooter off the bench, and most importantly, leaned into the Warriors' philosophy. By the end of the 2017-18 season, he was an NBA champion. Looking back, Young reflects on that season not just as a career milestone, but a personal transformation. I came in thinking I had to prove something, he said. But I learned that proving yourself in Golden State isn't about numbers, it's about fitting in, showing up, and doing your job every night. And that lesson isn't just for players. It's a message that resonates with coaches, front offices, and young athletes everywhere. Real success requires structure, sacrifice, and someone willing to say the hard things, even when it's uncomfortable. The legacy of accountability. As the Warriors look to evolve post-dynasty, with Curry aging and Thompson's future uncertain, the legacy of players like Draymond Green remains foundational. While stats may not always reflect his impact, stories like Nick Young's highlight the leadership that's impossible to measure but critical to sustained excellence. It's easy to celebrate the game winners, the highlight reels, the championship parades. But sometimes, greatness is built in the timeouts, when a teammate tells you the truth you didn't want to hear but needed to. Draymond Green strikes a chord by calling out the Warriors' stagnant off-season. Draymond Green didn't miss the mark. He said exactly what many Warriors fans have been thinking. As the Golden State Warriors remain the only team yet to make a move in free agency this offseason, frustration has been building, not just among fans, but also within the locker room. And Green, never one to hold back, voiced that frustration in a way only he could. In a candid series of posts on Threads, the veteran forward pointed the finger directly at the new collective bargaining agreement, CBA, writing, "We can only blame the new CBA and the second apron for completely killing free agency." While teams across the league made early attempts to retool their rosters, Golden State stood still, watching as opportunities slipped by. Green's message cut through the noise and perfectly captured the underlying disappointment many fans feel, that this summer, the Warriors' ambitions have been hamstrung not by lack of vision, but by the league's own economic restrictions. Free agency has hit a wall, and Golden State feels it more than most. The Warriors enter the offseason with two pressing needs: a rim-protecting center and a secondary playmaker on the wing. With limited cap flexibility, exacerbated by the high cost of trading for Jimmy Butler, Golden State allowed veterans Kevin Looney and Gary Payton II to enter free agency, likely anticipating that bolder moves were on the horizon. But as other teams acted swiftly in the first 48 hours of free agency, the Warriors remained inactive. Part of the holdup lies with Jonathan Kuminga's unresolved situation. The 22-year-old restricted free agent hasn't signed an offer sheet or generated significant sign-and-trade momentum. And he's not alone. Across the league, players like Josh Giddey and Quentin Grimes have also found themselves in limbo, casualties of a system that discourages mid-level investment in emerging talent. Draymond's criticism hits a larger truth. The new CBA changed the game. Under the new CBA, financial penalties tied to the luxury tax and the restrictive second apron are forcing front offices to be more conservative. Teams are hesitant to offer sizable contracts to young, unproven players, or even veterans who don't fit a precise mold. As a result, free agency has ground to a halt. Even solid contributors, players who aren't superstars but who make a real impact, are now being squeezed out by a system that overvalues top-heavy rosters and discourages deep, balanced teams. This dynamic has reshaped the off-season strategy across the NBA. Extensions and bird rights are now more appealing than open market signings, pushing many players to either re-sign with their current teams or seek trades that preserve their full financial value. That leaves teams like Golden State, who once thrived on savvy free agent additions, at a disadvantage. A team caught in transition. The Warriors, trying to maintain flexibility while still building around Stephen Curry's remaining prime years, now find themselves stuck. And Green's frustration isn't just about one off-season. It's about a broader system that's making it harder for teams like the Warriors to adapt and compete. For a franchise that once defined modern dynasty building, the new rules are testing their ability to pivot and reload. Green's message wasn't just a critique of the CBA, it was a call to action. A reminder that, if Golden State wants to remain a contender, they'll need to be bolder, smarter, and more united than ever in navigating a new NBA landscape. As the off-season stretches on, the clock is ticking. The Warriors may still make their move, but until then, the silence is speaking volumes. Kuminga's uncertainty highlights a growing issue. Draymond Green's concerns about the stalled free agency aren't just theoretical, they reflect a reality the Warriors are dealing with firsthand. Jonathan Kuminga, a restricted free agent, remains unsigned. Neither Golden State nor other teams have made progress on an extension or a potential sign-and-trade deal. The lack of movement mirrors what's happening across the league with several other young players in similar positions. This kind of stalemate is exactly what Green criticized. Under the new CBA, teams are more cautious than ever, especially when it comes to offering long-term money to players who haven't yet become stars. As a result, promising talents are left in limbo, unable to move forward with clarity. Warriors left waiting and falling behind. The Warriors enter the offseason with clear goals: improve rim protection and add a secondary playmaker. Instead, they've let key veterans walk, including Kevin Looney and Gary Payton II, likely to create room for bigger roster upgrades. But as other teams acted quickly in the first days of free agency, Golden State remained inactive. Their inability to move on Kuminga, and hesitation to take bold financial steps due to cap limitations, has left the roster incomplete, with no clear direction yet. This is more than just a personnel issue. It's become a philosophical one. The franchise that once redefined how teams are built is now navigating a system that punishes depth, discourages risk, and makes flexibility harder to come by. The broader impact across the league. Green's comments have sparked conversation not just among Warriors fans, but throughout the NBA. Players, agents, and executives are all grappling with the new economic realities imposed by the CBA. The second apron has created a system where teams either invest heavily in their stars, or sit idle, unable to justify mid-level spending. This has made it harder for competitive teams like Golden State to retool without sacrificing long-term stability or financial sanity. Even well-run organizations with championship aspirations are struggling to operate under the new rules. Looking ahead. With the clock ticking toward training camp, the Warriors are facing tough decisions. Do they push for a resolution with Kuminga? Do they pursue a veteran who fits the system, like Al Horford? Or do they hold firm, hoping the market breaks open? Whatever path they choose, it's clear this offseason isn't just about one roster. It's about a new era of NBA team building, one that Draymond Green rightly sees as limiting the very competition the league is built on. The Warriors' next steps will say a lot about their future, and about whether they can still thrive under the league's changing landscape. Warriors may need an unconventional path to land the ideal Jonathan Kuminga trade. The longer Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency drags on, the more likely it becomes that the former No. 7 overall pick will return to the Golden State Warriors on a short-term deal. The Sacramento Kings emerged as a strong suitor for Kuminga last week, but their momentum seemed to fade after the Warriors reportedly turned down a trade offer involving Dario Saric, rookie Devin Carter, and 2 second-round picks. At this point, a deal with Sacramento remains the most plausible outcome, if Kuminga is indeed moved. But the key to unlocking the ideal trade for Golden State may not come from the front office. It might have to come from a player on the Kings roster. Could Keegan Murray be questioning his role in Sacramento? The Warriors have shown little interest in Sacramento's current offers, and reportedly aren't keen on adding dynamic scorer Malik Monk. Instead, Golden State's dream target is likely Keegan Murray, the versatile forward and former No. 4 overall pick. Sacramento, of course, has no intention of giving up Murray in a straight swap for Kuminga. But what if Murray himself began to question his long-term fit with the Kings? That scenario may not be as far-fetched as it sounds. On a recent episode of the Game Theory podcast, the Athletic's Sam Vecenie floated the idea that Murray, and his representation, could be watching how the Kings roster is shaping up and wondering if it's the right environment for him. If you're Keegan Murray or his reps and you're seeing how this roster is coming together, are you sure you want to be there long-term? Vecenie asked. He'll be a restricted free agent next summer, so the team holds leverage. But is this really the situation you want to commit to, especially if you're not getting the shots you need to grow? He makes a valid point. Almost every key player Sacramento has added lately thrives on having the ball in their hands. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are high-usage scorers. Monk took a career-high 14.4 shots per game last season. Even Domantas Sabonis and Dennis Schroeder, while more willing passers, will take their share of shots. Murray's role seems to be shrinking. His field goal attempts dropped from 12.7 to 10.8 per game last season, including nearly one fewer three-point attempt. Adding Kuminga to that mix could only push Murray further down the pecking order, at a time when he's trying to earn a significant rookie extension. A perfect fit in Golden State? Murray's game could flourish in Golden State. He's a smart floor-spacing forward who would thrive alongside Stephen Curry, benefiting from the gravity of Curry's presence and finding open looks in the corners or on the wings. With Jimmy Butler drawing defenders into the paint, Murray could quietly become one of the most efficient secondary scorers in the league. But Golden State doesn't need to directly ask for Murray. Their best hope might be that Murray and his camp begin to express doubt about signing a long-term extension in Sacramento. That kind of hesitation could push the Kings to reconsider, and potentially open the door for a more serious trade discussion. Until then, however, the Warriors may have no choice but to bring Kuminga back next season, likely on a shorter-term deal, while they continue to search for the right opportunity. As the trade talks continue to stall, the uncertainty surrounding Kuminga's future is beginning to raise questions both inside and outside the Warriors organization. The longer this restricted free agency drags on, the more it impacts roster planning, salary cap flexibility, and ultimately, the team's ability to improve. Golden State's front office faces a delicate balancing act. Holding on to Kuminga means they retain a young, versatile talent with championship experience, but it also means potentially missing out on the opportunity to add a player like Keegan Murray, who could address specific needs like spacing and wing defense. On the other hand, pushing too hard in trade negotiations risks alienating Sacramento, which is already hesitant after seeing its own core players like Murray possibly express doubts. The Kings, locked in their own rebuild and roster reshaping, may be reluctant to part with a young star unless the return is substantial and clear. The ripple effects of this deadlock extend beyond just the two teams. Other Western Conference contenders are watching closely, aware that any deal involving these high-potential players could shift the balance of power. For the Warriors, who are eager to stay competitive during the waning years of their core's prime, the stakes couldn't be higher. Fans and analysts alike are debating what the best path forward is. Should Golden State exercise patience and trust in Kuminga's development? Or should they aggressively pursue a trade that might shake up their roster in hopes of reigniting championship contention? Meanwhile, Kuminga himself is in a challenging position. He must weigh the benefits of staying with a familiar team known for its winning culture against the uncertainties of joining a new franchise. His performance and attitude in the coming weeks could heavily influence his market value and the willingness of teams to strike a deal. The broader conversation also highlights a larger trend in the NBA: the complexities and constraints created by the new collective bargaining agreement. With salary caps, luxury taxes, and player movement rules becoming increasingly restrictive, teams find themselves navigating a more cautious and calculated approach in free agency and trades. In this environment, young players like Kuminga and Murray become valuable trade chips, but also bargaining pieces caught in a system that favors financial prudence over bold moves. This has frustrated fans craving more aggressive roster building and clearer championship windows. As the clock ticks closer to training camp, the Warriors management must decide whether to wait for the perfect deal or double down on their current core, hoping internal growth will be enough. Whatever the outcome, this saga underscores how high-stakes and delicate NBA roster construction has become, and how one player's uncertain future can influence an entire franchise's trajectory.